I'm Charles IT. Now, the cost of doing business in Ghana is currently high. No doubt about that, especially when the majority of commodities and instruments that drive growth and competitiveness, fuel prices, inflation, exchange rates have all skyrocketed. Joy Business gathers that the finance minister will in the coming days be addressing Parliament on some economic relief measures to cushion the business community and the consuming public from the impact. Joining me to discuss is President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Eyim-Darke. We're grateful, Dr. you could join us. Local industries are barely recovering from the shocks of COVID-19, only to be slapped by these circumstances of price hikes. What are your members telling you?
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity. Our members are concerned and anxious with the current development in the economy regarding the price hikes on the fuel product and the rate of or degree of depreciation of cedi and other related indices like the inflationary rates. So generally, there's concern and anxiety. Our prayer is that the managers of the economy will look into the crystal ball and look into the economic policy and bring in some interventions to halt the rate of depreciation currently.
Indeed, we know that the finance minister will make a presentation to Parliament on some relief measures that should arrest this particular situation, as some economists even predict it will. You know, what will be the state of local industries should this trend continue?
Well, that is a wild assumption. You seek an opinion from me on that. I can't look into the crystal ball to predict. However, we wish we will not get to that particular stage. We believe the managers of the economy will definitely find a solution to halt the rapid fall of the cedi and also halt the inflationary peakness. As much as we are aware that coming from the COVID era, we're still in a transition mood, in the transition period of recovery. And then these other related externalities, i.e. the COVID impact and that of the Ukrainian and Russian war sparking the fuel price increase. Presumably, we were of the opinion government was then finding a way through its monetary policy tools to spur the economy up through several interventions. But considering what is happening, we pray that the government will speedily come through the finance minister, as you have captured, to bring in some relevant interventions that will bring confidence back into the economy and then project our businesses.
Dr. Eyim-Darke, what immediate interventions do local industries need at this current moment?
The immediate intervention has to do with the cedi. We believe the speculative posture of a number of actors in the economic space is also triggering the rate at which the cedi is falling. And therefore, the speculative nature should be tackled or confronted strategically. We are fairly aware that a number of our colleagues who trade in the open space in the foreign currency, some are also in link with some banks that wish to cash in on the season of crisis. I mean, hey, when there's a season of crisis, some take advantage of the phenomenon to make supernormal profit. So we urge the Bank of Ghana to deploy very intelligent strategies to curb the speculative nature of activities in the economic space, and also through the banks and those who are giving out hard currencies to be traded by, we call these people the Gao people on the street, to cash in on the crisis. The intelligence community needs to step in to tame this activity. The speculative nature is also worsening the case. That will be the immediate intervention to slow down the rate of depreciation. And then we could then look at the short to medium term interventions from the Minister of finance and other related interventions.
And we shall keep an eye on the minister's presentation to see how it goes. But we're grateful that you could join us. Dr. Ayim Dake, the president of the Association of Ghana Industries. Let's now move to food security, because government insists that the country's food security is not under any threat. The Deputy Agric Minister is, in an interview with George Rafi, has been sharing some interventions that government is implementing amid fears of high food prices. Let's now get in touch with Anthony Morrison, the CEO of the Agribusiness Chamber, on this. Anthony, you take a listen to the Deputy Agric Minister, and he is very confident that despite the challenges existent, there is help on the way. How do you respond to that? Do we have Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you very much, and very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Yes, I think that is a welcoming news from the Honorable Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. This is what the industry has been looking for, has been waiting for. All we need is some form of encouragement so we can have some comfort somewhere to be able to carry on our activities. I must say that there is quite a number of things to be done. Food prices continues to go high in view of the rising cost of fuel, and also that also affecting transportation and aggregation. There are some areas that government must look at. For instance, some importation of certain goods that I refer to as unnecessary goods. A lot of cities chasing the dollar to import things otherwise we could virtually produce here in Ghana. And also, there are several other things that I think the government should temporarily or permanently ban in terms of imports. And this is some of the ways we can reduce the pressure on the city. Now, going forward, this is now to look at the local content. How do we develop a local content policy? How do we train our farmers to use indigenous materials like the cocoa pods? We are the second largest producer of cocoa. What do we use the cocoa pods for as a country?
All right.
These are the opportunity for us to look into it. Probably we can introduce some enzymes into the cocoa pods and to produce organic fertilizer for the country. So there are several things that we can do. So I believe it's a call in the right direction, but a lot more needs to be done by this government.
Indeed, and we shall be looking forward to what exactly the Ministry of Agriculture will be implementing to cushion farmers against what's been observed as high food prices and the inputs regarding the farm gate. We're grateful, Anthony Morrison, CEO of the Agribusiness Chamber. You're still watching The Marketplace. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back. To stay with us. Now, oil exploration firm Tullow has indicated that it expects to return to some strong profits for this year, 2022, after years of losses. Now, the move is expected to impact positively on the country's earnings from the oil sector. The oil exploration firm ended 2021 recording another loss of $81 million. However, this represents an improvement over the $1.2 billion loss recorded in 2020. Rahul Deer is Group Chief Executive of Tullow Oil and has been speaking to George Rafi in an interview.
Today, as we look at Tullow, particularly as we look at our business here in Ghana, we've outlined an acceleration of our Ghana value maximization plan. So we're looking at a $2.8 billion capital spend between 22 and 25 in the Jubilee and 10 fields. We're looking at sustaining the gains in terms of operating performance. And we're looking at increasing kind of our drilling capacity. So we're looking at bringing in a second rig here in Ghana. And all that, George, will translate into, we believe, a production level of about 150,000 barrels from Jubilee and 10 by 2025. So compared to sort of 107, 108,000 barrels. So quite a material increase in production, but directly as a consequence of the work we've done and the investments.
Not boxing you to any strict timeline, but when are you hoping to getting back to some strong winning ways in terms of posting some strong earnings, because you've been able to reduce the loss position and looking at all the things that you're putting in place, are we hoping that by next year we could see these things that you put in place hit the bottom line, or maybe in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think so. I think that this year certainly, well, 21 was an important year because from a core earnings perspective, we were very much sort of profitable. But we were paying for historic decisions because we had negative earnings, as you said, which were substantially less than what we had in the year before. But still, they were impacted by write-offs of investments that we had made in the past, unprofitable investments we had made in the past. I think a lot of that is done. The balance sheet is clean. So as we look forward, we're really looking at profitability being driven by the performance of the business as opposed to being weighed by historic investments. So I'm quite confident about profitability this year, and certainly kind of as we recover production from both Jubilee and 10, we should see increases in profitability going forward.
What has influenced your decision to take over the Jubilee FPSO? Because I thought that as a strategy, you wanted to focus on your core competence and allow other service providers to help you. Help me out in that decision. When I saw that in your financials, even the half year, that operational update, and now was firmed up in the full year results. What is the rationale behind it?
So really, if you think about where Tullow is today, and this is an important thing, so we have a very simple statement that defines a lot of our actions, which is every barrel matters and every dollar counts, right? And what that means when you think about it, George, is that it's about an attention to detail in every aspect of the business that we do, right? So remember that. So if you keep that in mind, and then you look at the operating performance on reliability, safety at the Jubilee, at the K&K FPSO, we've seen quite a substantial shift. So I'll give you one number. So in 2019, the uptime at the K&K FPSO was about 84%. Last year it was 98%, right? So if you ask me why, and in that why is the answer to your question. So the one simple thing between 2019 and 2021 has been a continual increase in the influence that Tullow has had on the operations in K&K. And recognizing the direct impact of that, we believe that in order to sustain those gains, the logical thing for us is to take over the operatorship ourselves. You talked about the core competence. I believe that a company like ours, really, K&K is a really important asset for us. It's an important asset for Ghana. And I think given the significance of that and the point that every barrel matters, every dollar counts, and looking at the improvement in the performance that we've been able to achieve by just increasing our influence, we feel strongly that really this is something that we should be driving ourselves. We'll still continue to work with a lot of the same suppliers, a lot of the local partners that are there. We'll look to increase the capability in the local content. But when we look at this, a lot of the key decisions around planning, maintenance, focusing on asset integrity, those are all we want to drive because of the criticality of the asset.
What will be the impact of this move on employment in terms of either taking up these service providers or bringing in more competent hands to help you with this decision?
So look, I mean, local content is at the heart of what Tullow does. I was in Takoradi on Tuesday and was very pleased because I visited some of the fabrication yards. And it's fascinating because we're assembling complex mega steel structures, which till recently were not possible here. The last time we assembled these structures or fabricated them was in Houston, right? So I think that is the sort of thing we believe is possible. And if we're driving the O&M business, we feel that we can improve and uplift the competence. We can improve and uplift the scale and scope of what we're doing kind of on a local content perspective. So a big driver for us has been to say, if we're much more in control, we'll be able to not just deliver local content from a kind of ticking the box point of view, if I may say so, but really drive local content from real competency and skill building. So kind of like my fabrication example.
So if I get from you, we could be seeing more local hands coming on board with respect to the decision that you've taken to take over the FPSO.
Absolutely. And I think you can see that reflected, George, already even in our organization today here, is we have a lot more of our Ghanaian colleagues in key decision-making roles already in even prior to this kind of O&M transformation. So I think that's very much at the heart of our business. I think that's a critical element of our being successful. I personally have been very impressed with the capability set that we're seeing, whether it's in welding to detailed engineering and planning to, I was at the K&K FPSO late last year and seeing some of the workers there. So I think that's the right destination.
What is the outlook when it comes to local content? I've seen the pictures myself forwarded from one of your workers here, and I was so excited. What is the outlook in terms of local content when it comes to Tullow, in terms of equipping them with skills, bringing them on board to do all these interesting stuff that is going to aid exploration?
So look, I think the key is there's no silver bullet. I think it requires consistent effort. It requires a passion from our side, which is there, and it's a building block by building block. So it's training that welder who can then build skill set to an international standard, and it's encouraging someone like the owners of the flat confidence that they can actually go and put risk capital and create the first Ghanaian flag supply vessel. It's the owners of the fabrication yards to put in the risk capital. So I think it's a systematic kind of effort. I think it's a key to that is really what I call the kind of Ghana value maximization plan, because what that does is it allows us to give our suppliers the line of sight. So I was with one of our local suppliers earlier today, and he was very appreciative of the fact that he can look forward and say, the Tullow-led JV is going to invest $2.8 billion over the next 4 years. If he's got to go out and do risk capital, he can do that, right? So I think it's a systematic thing. It's about approaching it consistently, but having programs. So we're trying to make ourselves, not just these are big contracts, but on the smaller ones to make sure that, SMEs are able to access our procurement systems. Simply, sometimes people find that quite intimidating. Making sure people understand what the opportunity set is, so working closely with the Petroleum Commission. So I think this is all part of a very kind of systematic approach, but I'm pretty excited about the potential there.
Help me out on an update on those 6 new wells. I stand to be corrected. I mean, where have we gotten so far, and when are we hoping to finalize that, please?
Sorry, for the
6 new wells that you're working on.
Yeah.
What is the update on that, and when are you hoping to complete that?
So we have 6 wells planned for this year for Jubilee and 10. We're already done with one of those, and that's the plan for this year. So the investment plan this year is about drilling in both Jubilee and 10. So those plans are already in place. So we're now kind of in the execution mode. So we'll have those drilled by the end of the year. And in addition to that, we have some key infrastructure investments. One in Jubilee where we're investing in subsea manifolds, and then also in 10 where we'll create some infrastructure to hook up the wells we're drilling this year to drive production growth next year and beyond.
And what would be the impact of these wells on the daily output, production, and total output for Tullow going forward when they come on stream?
So what's interesting, George, is when you look at both Jubilee and 10, right? It's not just the 3 wells this year, but it's the 25 wells that we're drilling in Jubilee, and it's the similar amount in 10. And the impact of all of these, along with the infrastructure spend, which is the $2.8 billion that I talked about, that's what is going to take, we believe, is going to allow us to take Jubilee to over 100,000 barrels a day. And that's what is going to allow us to double production from 10 to over 50,000 barrels a day.
And that was the group CEO of Tullow speaking with George there. Away from that, some requirements like buoy and bride prices are gradually becoming outdated, according to some young people. Thus, it should be scrapped, they say. However, others, notably the elderly, believe tradition must be respected. Joy Business Beverly Brom has the rest of the story.
I have 2 boys. If they counter any of this, and I went to their wife's parents, and they give me the list, and the list is too much, I have to beg them to come. If they don't answer to my list, then my children will marry.
Marriage is an institution made special by events surrounding it. Among these events are the payment of bride price and the formalization of the union. The payment can be made in the form of money, presents, or a mixture of both, depending on the ethnic group. In recent times, many have raised concerns about the high cost of bride prices, arguing that some of the items, most often than not, are not utilized by the bride.
Forward. We are not coming back. So I spoke to my dad and told him I'm not going to use those things. So it's not important. Meanwhile, things are difficult now, so you should just understand. And he understood. I think it's waste of money.
It's too much. That's why our children, girls' children, they are still in the house, because what the parents are demanding from their men, they are too much. Especially with the Muslims. And if you want to take dowry, sometimes we take dollars, we take pounds, we take safer. Sometimes we don't take cedis in dowry. So how can the men come and marry our children? Don't be giving birth in the house. So we are begging the parents, they should let the dowry come down.
Well, millennials have reservations about norms of yesteryears, but the aged appreciate culture and will continue to adore it.
So yeah, Baba, where dear, your way. But 2-bedroom member, Pondra so beboduku. Tisano, Udisia, Upa, work of Febinwab, when every system,
Some women echo the respect for tradition and demonstrate how the items are used.
Actually, bui. Wo game wo kusunji, ka ba febo, aba oboga. Aba ka ke bui agmenu, ka shino. Ashino ba he papwa kwa chola ni pankasa. Ani pankasa ne bui ni. Aka foni biano. Shobla ya bi ngwene ko ha me bui. Ameche bui e se na mo papa bui. E sada e se na mo yin fe chofangina ke wo. Ene ko che ha o shifi o tight. E wa yin ha wo. Da na nya ka bia na hin egbele e wo nya yusu fe pade no enepo e hin ha enye sokola wa fe pade ni ko le che sokola wa fe pade wa ko tale neke mena e wo ashino e wo shimi nchonle ba dole neke ya ashino mi yen ne ko ba dole bona e ko wo ashini mi ashino mi neke wo ashini wo aba wo ashino mi neke odo fo no yi bona kete se ba kito yi bona odo fo ene 1 yard ni si half yard agefi o ko kito mi wa ne se ba jito yo yi e wa na no kono yo se o ba nyoka wa tale fin atale ene achola yin pankasa ka fa engagement e be pia kwa ko he papa ene papa ni achola yin pankasa bona won wa ka ko me 15 cedi
mini ji ese na mo
yin ke sho ko wo e ameke sho ona ko wo hu e sa o he ko wo owo ata owo pioto e ani ashino e ya pioto e mi ke dwele no na shike ye pioto e mi ana ani ebo bia na nya pioto bibia ni nya wo ashino dwele no wa na
Only a few respect tradition. So how does that affect market women who continue to sell these items?
Yeah, they're 15 city. 15 city. Obaja mi enyo use 15 for obaja mi enyo no ba use. Ekome lebi, ke ekome gbeke. AJ system.
Well, an advice there to young millennials as they head for the traditional marriages by Beverly Brum. That's how we end this edition. We shall play the full report at 5 p.m. So please stay tuned for that. We're grateful that you could join us. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.